This is the new Osight K and this is the Osight SE. Understand, this one spec change can significantly improve dot clarity if you struggle with astigmatism. And this time it's a dedicated 6 MOA dot open emitter optic. But the real question is the 6 MOA version worth an upgrade for an RMSC optic? If you're looking for an affordable RMSC style optic that doesn't burn through your wallet, here are the pros and cons of the brand new Osight K. So now this is now a 6 MOA option. So long story short, it's similar to the SE model, but it's an open emitter body this time. If you have astigmatism, depending on your overall vision, a 6 MOA appears much rounder, and it's less likely to be completely obscured by the emitter starburst when you crank up the brightness. Since the camera can pick up the sight picture without dealing with refraction, you can see that the dot is very crisp and clear. But to a human eye, you can still aim with the dot with both eyes open, even with slightly bad eyesight. But it's never going to be as clear as someone with 20/20 vision. It will always refract a little since your eyeball is never perfectly round, and this is where astigmatism affects your sight picture. So if we compare a 1 MOA and a 3 MOA dot, all of them have similar dot brightness. And if we crank up the brightness for all of them, we can see that the 1 MOA immediately gets obscured by the emitter glare. And for new shooters who think that makes the dot bigger, well, no, it's just the glare getting bigger. And the glare pretty much obscures the sight picture in low light, but not so much if it's well lit. So what you want is this. And not this. So the 1 MOA essentially looks as small as the period label on your keyboard, but even smaller. It's generally useful for rifles for a more accurate aim, especially paired with a magnifier so you can see better downrange when you zero. Now, if you have to zero with a 6 MOA dot on a 100-yard target using a rifle, and let's say you need to adjust just a 1/4 MOA to the left, well, that 6 MOA is so big and it's going to block your aim and you can't tell where you are aiming. Therefore, a 1 MOA is much more refined for that type of application. And the same goes for the 3 MOA, and it's just slightly bigger. And on the 6 MOA, however, you can see the significant difference. The dot is much more visible, and it appears without looking smeared unless your vision is really bad. Like you can see the rounder dot appearing more than just a tiny dot, and the starburst doesn't immediately bury the dot under. So if you're shooting, these glare will simply wash away, but in low light situations, the 6 MOA appears much more crisp. Like here you can see the outer edges if you look closely. And if you use a weapon light, that bright lumen output can also, in a way, wash away the glare. So that's pretty much the benefit of a bigger dot. Oh, and also, a bigger dot tremors way less in your hand than a tiny one moving all over the place. That just reduces performance anxiety when aiming. And I'm glad that finally Osight K features that. So far, this is only the red version, and maybe they will make a green dot version as well if the demand is there. Okay, now let's talk about the turrets to see if it's any good. The windage and elevation adjustments are tactile and precise, which is exactly what you want. Every click should be tactile if you dial them slowly, maybe not so tactile if you're wearing a glove, but in general, you should feel the detent for every click, so that you're less likely to overshoot your zero when dialing the turret. I think this is a big deal because usually most budget optics cheap out on this part, where one click felt really mushy, like you have no idea how many clicks you actually dialed. For this, you'll still need a very small flathead screwdriver to make adjustments, so no luck with just using a shell casing at the range. Okay, now let's move on to the power source. So now the sight runs on a single CR1620 battery. And so far it's running great, but we'll need more time in the field to know for sure. But so far, Osight's previous models have been holding up just fine, so let's hope this won't die on me anytime soon. The decision to move away from the recharging cap not only beefed up the lens frame without adding circuits in it, and it also got rid of the annoyance that you have to keep track of the recharging cap. Because if you lose it, you can never charge the sight. And if you're in the market for a cheap, subcompact red dot just for range use, well, the Osight K is a great entry product. But there are some cons. The first thing I noticed is that the optic doesn't seem to have a built-in lockout function to prevent accidental brightness changes. You can turn it off by pressing both buttons at the same time. but there is nothing to lock the brightness setting in place. For a carry optic, this will push some people away, but I also don't think this should be a carry optic. So, the open emitter isn't really a deal breaker, it's just that you just can't use it under raining conditions. If the emitter gets wet, you are not going to be able to clean it easily. So let's wrap it up. Who is this sight for? So if you want to try a 6 MOA dot for the first time without spending a lot of money, this is a great option to try. If you already have many optics, then maybe this is nothing new to you and you can completely ignore this. Also, the Osight K isn't competing with the Holosun EPS carry. Andy, it's more like the Siley Cat Pro. There are lots of people that like that optic, but they only have the 3 MOA option, and I think Osight K fills that market gap in that price range. The other 6 MOA options are the Burris Fastfire C, and I think the Gideon Judge is also a 6 MOA one, but they are all in the $200 range, and there isn't a lot out there, to be honest. Other than that, the Osight K is an affordable entry point product for just under $160, and you may save a bit more with a code that I'll add below the video. And that's going to earn some small affiliate commission to support the channel. And if you find this helpful, please add your comment and you may like this one too.